Welcome to Sportex, where we talk all things relating to the ever-evolving business of sport and the people that make things happen in this vibrant industry. I'm Kira Davids, founder of TalkX TV, where we host Sportex as a content channel. And today I'm joined by Rebecca Eliot, founder of the Podium Pursuit Collective, which is an online application which aims to fund Africa's top sporting talent. Welcome to Sportex, Rebecca. And let's start off by describing what is it that you do in the sport business industry, and perhaps give us a bit of a background as to where it's all coming from. Welcome.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you, Gerard, for having me on the show. So, yes, as you said, I'm the co-founder of a company called ProTouch Africa, which is primarily a consultancy or sports consultancy, which focuses on fan engagement, new technologies, and alternative revenue streams for sports clubs, teams, and federations. And this is typically enabled by the blockchain or by blockchain technology. We have a proprietary project called Podium Pursuit, which is a mobile fan app that has been built to aggregate Africa's top sporting talent, their fans, and the brands that support them all into a single ecosystem, with the intention being to find new ways to actually fund Africa's top performing athletes.
And currently, how's that project coming along?
It's coming along really, really well. We've been about 12 months in development now, so we're live in beta. So fans can download the digital clubhouse from the Apple and Android app store. And we're building out the ecosystem. We're building the relationships with the individual athletes. We have digital profiles that have been built out for over 4,500 of Africa's top talent. And we're starting to add, various features, news feeds, opportunities for fans to engage directly with the athletes and actually be part of the journey.
4,000 athletes is a big number. So let's talk about the app itself in terms of how sports bodies, clubs, franchises, and federations, and even athletes, and those who are supporting athletes like sponsors, how could they make use of the application or the platform?
So the platform itself, we use a platform out of Switzerland from a company called Blocksport. Basically, ProTouch Africa is the distributor for Blocksport here in Africa. And it's a white label platform that has been built specifically for sports clubs, teams, and federations, with various features included in the platform to be able to drive fan engagement. So, for example, we can aggregate newsfeed content from all the different social media channels into one central place, which then allows the sports club to be able to actually monetize their own newsfeed as opposed to the social media channels that are monetizing their content. We have various facilities around featuring individual athletes, profiles, linking out to all of their various social media channels, which gives fans the ability to obviously connect directly with individual athletes and teams that they want to support. And, in addition to that, we have a whole range of gamification features which allow the fan to be rewarded for interaction and engagement within the platform. So that can range from, filling out various details about themselves, reading news feeds, sharing, inviting friends, participating in fan chats, and various what we call missions that are handled within the actual platform itself. And fans then earn rewards. We have a leaderboard that then allows fans to compete against each other to be the top fan. So these are all sort of ways that we look to engage with the fan and get them to become part of the brand. And in doing so, obviously that gives them the opportunity to earn and unlock, greater value, more rewards, more benefits. So the platform...
Go ahead.
So I was saying, so the platform that we use for most of our clients is also the same platform that we're using for Podium Pursuit. So, at the end of the day, we are using the platform that we use for our clients to obviously build out our own project.
Okay. So you use the word blockchain and monetization, and in my dealings with sports bodies and NPOs and the like, when they hear these words, it sounds so foreign and up there in the sky above their reach. And how do we then in a simplistic manner, say to them, this is how you can create more revenue streams by coming on an app like this. So in a simplified way of conversation, Rebecca.
So I think the reality is that gone are the days where fans could really just engage with their top teams and athletes by going to a stadium and sort of interacting at that sort of level. So the really what we found is that the blockchain is providing an enormous opportunity for sports in Africa. It enhances fan engagement with the security levels. The generating of new revenue streams can also come in all sorts of forms, from play to earn games, fan missions, premium subscriptions, exclusive content, in-app streaming, behind the scenes, ticketing. So the blockchain really just provides also a transparent way for fans to engage directly with sports clubs, teams, and brands. And in doing so, it obviously creates opportunities for us to monetize that in different ways than sports were typically monetized previously.
Taking that into consideration as to how sports bodies could look into the future and have a discussion around creating new revenue streams, I actually would like to come back to our Women's Month feature, What I Do in Sport, by asking you, what is your view on how more women could be upskilled to enter the sports business industry per se?
So, I mean, women's sport obviously is on a rise globally, and more women are really starting to make their mark in the sporting fraternity. And I think, unlike men's sort of sponsorship products, there's a substantial more female products that obviously exist in terms of sponsorships, and you're seeing lots of traditional woman product companies that are actually now starting sports divisions to really focus in on women in sport, in terms of using it as a platform to promote their brands. And I think that opens the door really for women to also start to get a lot more involved in sport. I think as women, we bring a different component to sport. Women tend to empower other women. I think it's naturally part of a sort of woman's makeup to empower more women. And I think networking. So, I think that in terms of upskilling to enter the sports business, I think it's about bringing together more women, finding new ways to actually, empower one another to actually make a difference in the sporting fraternity.
Yeah, when we talk about special interventions for women in business, in society, whatever the case may be, people always say, "Don't treat us as if we're different." Look, we are genetically in our makeups, we are different. But what I'm trying to say is that, would you be a proponent of doing more of what you just said now? Because despite the fact that we want to ignore the glass ceiling, it is still there.
Look, I think it is changing. I think across the board, not just in sport. Women are making their mark in multiple careers, in multiple industries. I think our genetic makeup invariably allows a lot more empowerment to exist within sort of growth from a skills perspective and from a career path perspective. So, I think, I've been in my own business now for 30 years. So I've walked a fairly long journey as a woman, in business and in my own business. And I've just seen that over the last 30 years, there's just been more and more women that are wanting to get involved and really wanting to make a difference. And I think women tend to be more purpose-led. So, in the world that I sort of operate in, for me, it's around networking, it's around upskilling, and it's about bringing a new dimension to the sports field, both on the field as well as behind the scenes in the back office, that I think women bring. And not to say that we're better or we're worse. I think together, women and men, can do far more together. I think it's great that there's more women that are really starting to shine in this space.
Yeah. Taking your cue from that, you used the word earlier on networking. So looking back at your career path, what would be the piece of advice you would give to someone, especially someone younger, a younger woman, looking to enter this industry, what would be that key pieces of advice you would tend to give them?
Look, networking is incredibly important in any business. I tend to use LinkedIn a lot for networking. I connect with various people in lots of different sectors. I think also, having been in my own business for 30 years, I've obviously met a fair number of people over that time. And I have sort of cross-section of sort of C-suite type executives all the way down to middle management that have sort of cut across multiple industry sectors. So whether it be financial services, healthcare, etc. So, I think that from a networking perspective, it's incredibly important to build that network and to find, other people with more experience, with more skills, using platforms like LinkedIn to be able to really, connect at different levels and reaching out to people. It's fairly easy to get hold of the right person directly through LinkedIn and start a conversation, and from there be able to build that up into a meeting or a discussion that could actually go into multiple facets.
Yeah, and looking back at the Paris Olympics that just closed over the weekend, and what is prominent at the end of a medal ceremony or during a medal ceremony is the volunteers. And, the world that they are exposed to as young people entering sport. I mean, guaranteed they're wide-eyed now and they've seen so many things, and it can just trigger something in the back of the mind and saying, this is where I would like to go one day. And what would your view be in encouraging younger women, especially, to go and do more volunteerism?
Absolutely. Look, I think, unfortunately, in any career, once you finish university, the first thing a prospective employee is going to ask you is how much work experience do you have? And typically coming out of university and very, very much in the sort of marketing or sort of non-accounting, non-legal, non-medical related careers, there's very little practical experience that is often gained during that time of studying. So, my view, and I hire or have a number of young people in my team, and to a large degree, when they join, it's very often about just actually getting experience on their portfolios and finding new ways to put into practice what they've learned, but actually have some work experience, because most companies are just not going to take the time out to take somebody just on, the results of their degree or their diploma that they've completed. So I think, my advice would be to get into businesses, into networking circles, offer your services free of charge in order to actually build up a portfolio and have something to be able to show that you've actually done. And I think that is incredibly important, whether you're a journalist, whether you're a broadcasting, camera or photographer, or whether you're a writer. The reality is, in all of those spheres, an employer is going to want work experience. So the easiest thing to do it is to view it as your own business, and building your own brand is to actually get out there and actually start to do some of those things so that you can actually show what you can do.
No, great. So, having had such a long career in business, did you have mentors, and how do you view their importance, especially when you build your own career as a younger person?
Yeah, so I had a lot of really great mentors in the early start of my career, and many of which are still people that I call on from time to time now. So I think mentors are incredibly important, and people who can guide and put things into perspective. I think, when you're young, one tends to believe that we know everything there is to know. So I think it's really important to have a network of mentors around, and not necessarily always mentors that are in the same industry sector, but just who bring, a different perspective, give advice, and can also help with connecting you to the right sort of people. So I strongly suggest that any young person should set up a really good mentoring network for themselves.
Yeah, great. So, what are the biggest emerging trends you see on the horizon within the sports business industry, and more in particular in the tech side of things where you are placed?
Look, I mean, as we said earlier, the blockchain is really playing an enormous opportunity for sports, and particularly in Africa. I think that the new technologies that are coming out in broadcasting, live streaming of various sports directly from the pitch, to mobile handsets, have really changed the way that fans and people are consuming content. So I think that is really starting to come through. And I think, in terms of sort of technology, it is constantly evolving. So I think in the sports space, we're going to see a lot more technology enhancements happening over the coming years. And I think the blockchain and tokenization will probably be at the heart of that. And, I think with us being as passionate as we are about finding new ways to fund athletes, we think that certainly the blockchain and new technologies are really going to open the door to create new ways to fund athletes into the future, by really amplifying and engaging the fan base and finding ways way beyond sponsorship, which is really what sport depends on so badly, so desperately.
Great. Thank you. That was Rebecca Eliot, founder of the Podium Pursuit Collective and Protas Africa, of which the former aims to fund Africa's top sporting talent. Thank you for your time and insights, which is very much appreciated. That is where we would leave it for now. And thank you for watching What I Do in Sport on the SportX channel, which is hosted on TalkX TV. Until next time.
Thank you.